The funniest thing I ever said to someone going through a breakup was,
You just didn't get out soon enough. You know, you left your socks in the living room. You don't have a job. You've emptied my bank account and you slept with my sister. And if it happens again, that's it. It's just like, come on, girl, grow some ovums.
Let's bring in Hollywood divorce attorney David Glass for more on this. David,
People going through divorces are going through some of the hardest times of their lives, and a lot of what they're going through is emotional. And in any divorce, there's a huge sense of loss, and loss of relationship, of money, some friends.
Hi, I'm David Glass for the Hourglass Podcast. We're so glad you could join us for the launch of Season 7 of the Hourglass Podcast's People in the Know series. To kick off Season 7, we reached out to stand-up comedy maven Judy Carter, arguably one of the top experts in the field. She's a performer with more than 100 appearances under her belt. She's starred in 4 HBO specials and literally written the Bible on the topic. Her book is called The New Comedy Bible. She's been featured in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and on CNN and NPR. She teaches stand-up and works for many Fortune 500 companies as a humorist and motivational speaker. She even had Oprah asking, "Can you really teach people to be funny?" And of course, Judy answered yes. Judy is with us today to talk about the use of humor when either approaching, navigating, or moving on after the breakup process. And I, for one, am eager to get her thoughts and insights on this mind-bending subject. So let's get to it.
it's a thrill to be interviewing you.
Okay.
How did you get started in comedy? I wasn't able to go that far back and determine where you got your start or how you started.
The way that I officially became a comedian was I was on tour of a long, long time ago. This will date me, but it was Playboy clubs. And there I was in Chicago, and I was doing a huge magic act, but really funny tricks. So it's always really funny. And my luggage didn't show up. And I said, hey, my luggage didn't show up. I'm sorry, I can't go on. He goes, I don't care. Curtains at 8. The man Hef is coming tonight. You're going on. I'm going, oh my God. Oh shit, what am I going to do? Because I had all these gadgets and tricks and escape from my grandmother's girdle and sawing a man in half. And it was really funny show. And so there I am in the bunny locker room, just crying, just crying. Like, what am I going to do? And she had these enormous breasts and I had my, head in them going, this bunny was the one who gave me advice. And she said, just tell him what happened. And tell them what you would have done, and just you'll be funny. You are funny, and that's what happened. And after that, my tricks became a burden because when I found out you can make people laugh without with just carry on, I was schlepping huge trunks of these tricks, and that could be funny. Just like that was enough. I don't have to carry all this stuff. So I was sold on that, and that changed everything. So I've always found that when things go wrong in life, you can get stressed out and drink, or you can laugh and drink. But you can. I guess that's the moral. You can always drink. That's. I guess that's the point of it all.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And that, that almost jumps into the middle of where I want to be with questioning with how should people use comedy to help them get through difficult periods in their life, whether it's showing up for a gig without your props or going through a breakup or getting fired from work. Are these all things that you can equally use comedy to help you get through?
Well, yes, but yes, absolutely. And there's an old quote, sometimes attributed to Carol Burnett, but it's kind of anonymous who said it, but it's genius, is that comedy is tragedy plus time.
Right.
So you don't want to be these people who just everything's a joke, because that's friggin' annoying. All right. Mm-hmm. And if you have to feel your emotions, and then there comes a point when your friends are tired of hearing how he dumped you or ghosted you or she did or whatever. There comes a point where you're going to friggin' annoy your friends. Mm-hmm. and you need to be funny, because comedy essentially is complaining, but funny, which makes you more bearable and more likable.
Right.
So there are ways to do it. And certainly I've turned every breakup and everything that's gone wrong in my life into comedy. When you can laugh at a problem, it definitely becomes more manageable,
Sure.
and it feels like you have power over it.
Sure. And what kinds of things have you pulled from your own? I'm a divorce lawyer and former psychologist, so I'm interested in breakups and people getting divorced, and almost more importantly, people moving on from these difficult periods, and how do they move on? Do you have any personal stories of
Yeah.
turning
Okay.
these negative events into something positive?
Yeah, I was like very, very early in my career. We were all working at the Hollywood Improv, and I was dating a comic, which right then and there is a mistake, people. If you're thinking of dating a comic, you're just going to end up as material in their act.
Right.
Comics are horrible people to date. We are like in the middle of sex. Wait, hold that thought. I just thought of something, and we write it down, and it's just like, oh, you said something funny. Can I have that? And it's just not good to date a comic. You'll have black and blue arms from going, listen to this, listen to
Right.
that. We're friggin' annoying. I was very, very long ago, and I was dating Andy Kaufman. And I don't know if you heard of him.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
And we're both working in the Hollywood Improv. This is before he was a celebrity. And so he broke up with me. He just took me out to lunch and said, you know what? Let's nip it in the bud. See ya. And I was
Right.
stunned. I was absolutely stunned, because I don't know, I thought it was going great. And he got me into a lot of positive things, like, he's the one who introduced me to meditating, and
Right.
and yeah, he was a little weird in other aspects, but I really enjoyed our creativity together. And it's just like, what? Yeah, I'm dating someone more famous. It's like, what?
Wow.
Well, I was stunned, and now I've got to see him every night because we're both working there, right? And all I thought about was like hurting him. You know, all those thoughts we have, like, I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to get someone, I'm going to break his, I'm going to show, because how could he just like, that's it, goodbye, here's someone. All right.
Right.
So there's that. And then one night I got up at the Hollywood Improv, and I started to tell jokes about him.
Right.
And, and I remembered these jokes. I mean, I just dated a total narcissist, so selfish. I mean, we had one thing in common. We were both in love with him. I mean, how many men shout out their own name when they make love? Oh, God, what a conceited bastard. He had mirrors on the ceiling. We made love. He kept telling me I was blocking his view. And, so it's just throwing the jokes out, and I was just, enraged. And the audience was laughing hysterically. And in that moment, it all left. And it really, I now, speak on how to use humor to deal with stress for corporate audiences. And I really feel that's where I learned that,
Right.
that moment of having the whole audience align with me in laughter. Oh my God. It was fantastic. And then I did a little action. It was pretty bad, but not so bad, but he was fastidious about going on before he went on. He was doing this thing as Elvis, and there's all these agents to see him. And I was at the bar, and right before he went on, I was drinking red wine, and I just impulsively went, "Oh, whoops, sorry." And
Oh,
I
wow.
spilled red wine all over his white. And the look on his face was
Oh,
gold. And it
yeah.
just, it just was done. It's
Right,
just
right.
completely, all the feelings of anger, animosity, hurt completely left me.
Mhm.
And it just was funny, especially the next day people say, "Oh, Judy, I heard you got really drunk, at the improv and spilled wine." And I went, "Yeah, uh-huh."
Yeah, yeah.
I was so drunk. I was stone cold sober when I did it.
Right,
But you know, that's a good
right.
story, right?
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
think
And
I've told that story, tell you the truth, but
it's a great story because you're in a predicament. You've got your emotions. You still have to go up on stage. The person is right there. I mean, you combine those three things. Most people don't get stuck in that if they're going through a breakup. The person is across town, across the country, at a different job.
uh-huh.
Having them right in front of you. And it actually draws me into your book, the Comedy Bible, the new Comedy Bible now,
Hmm.
about not lying. Thou shalt not lie. You have 10 commandments and about not lying, and
Not stealing.
also about punching up as opposed to
Yeah.
punching down.
Yeah.
And I suppose because he was more famous than you were, he was on the brink of becoming more famous. That probably contributed to some of the laughter.
Well, here it is. Like if you're a guy and you say, "Ugh, dang, this woman's such a bitch," right? Um, that's not cool because women are considered having less power than men, so that's punching down.
Right.
However, if you say this girl slept with my best friend and dumped me, I'm
Mhm.
going, you could call her a bitch, you could call her whatever you want
Right.
because she deserves it now. So it's just the matter of deserving, setting things up for people who deserve it,
Mhm.
and most comics will do that. Like Chris Rock has a whole routine about fat women,
Mhm.
which would be considered fat shaming. But
Right.
he sets it up. I love fat women. I love fat black women. And he sets it up and he says some of the jokes and go, but let me ask you something. So it's this awareness of how you set up your humor when we stand up comics perform,
And
to,
so it's
to joke
uh,
fairly.
in your book. It seems your book's amazing because it turns being humorous as a base thing and possibly being up on stage into a number of steps that you have to follow, and you have to do it consistently in order to be funny. And I think for me, that was a revolutionary idea that anyone can be funny, but you have to work at it. Was that the reaction to your book when it first came out, and then when you brought out the subsequent book?
When I first wrote the first book, um, I didn't know what I was doing. It was a really bad time in my life because I had been doing stand up like 46 weeks out of the year
Right.
and doing TV shows and really feeling very alone. At the time, there weren't a lot of women doing it.
Right.
And stand up comedy is a rather lonely occupation because you're traveling alone because you really can't afford to travel with other people. And my mom died. So I was having a mental health crisis, to tell you the truth. And I guess this kind of is what we're talking about, how messes lead to successes
Right.
with the right attitude. So I quit. I quit doing stand up because, I was never home. I was really unhappy and I didn't know what to do with my life. And so I thought, well, I'll get a job. And then I realized, oh boy, I don't have any job skills. I know how to write jokes, but I don't have any job skills. What am I going to do? And I'm not feeling funny. So I had this harebrained idea that led me to all the success I have today. And this harebrained idea, because I'm a great believer, if something's not working in your life, do something different.
Sure.
And this harebrained idea was, you know what? I'm going to see what it's like to go to work. So I'll rent an office. I have some money saved, and I'll
Mhm.
just go to work every day and see if I'm into it.
Right.
Never, because I was really long. So I went to work, was an office share, and I got to meet people. And people said, "What are you doing?" I go, "Well, not much." And they assumed I was in management. I
Right.
don't know. And so So this woman said, "Well, I need someone to type. If you have nothing to do, can I hire you?" And I go, "Absolutely. Now I have a job and I'm thrilled to death because I'm a good typist."
Yeah.
And she wrote books. She said, you should write a book. And I'm going, really? Okay. And this is another secret to my life. I've never, I've written many books. The New Comedy Bible right now is trending #1 in its category on Amazon. And, none of this was a goal because everything
Right.
I've got in life is so much better than
Mhm.
anything I could have planned. So I'm
Sure.
not into I'm just go something. I'm like, okay.
Right.
And so I write this book and I go, now what? And she said, well, you got to get an agent. This is before self-publishing.
Right. Right.
This was my first book was, well, way back when. So I go, okay. So I sent it to agent after agent, rejection after rejection. David, I got 59 rejections,
Right.
but number 60 published it. And Random House liked it, and another woman liked it, Oprah Winfrey, and she had me on her show. I didn't know
Right.
you wrote this book. Can you teach people to be funny? And I go, yeah, I have a method, you know, that will work for becoming a professional stand-up or just fixing if you're humor impaired. And so, it just was this crazy accident. 8 books later, it's crazy. And now this last book. I sold the rights. I just sold the rights to Ukraine. It's been sold to, it's been Mandarin, translated Mandarin, Mongolian.
Incredible.
It's published in Russia. It's just amazing. I need someone translating Spanish though, because seems like that would be the first.
That's a big market. Yeah.
But it's been doing really, really well, and it came from, that horrible point in my life where my mom died and I was alone and I couldn't bear doing what I was doing. I was depressed and willing just to do what anybody suggested to me.
Sure. But I mean, the story to me is about remaining open to possibilities. You're there, you're typing, you're feeling lousy, you've had a bunch of bad things happen to you, and someone says you could write a book. And how many people out of 100 would actually say, you know what, maybe I should try that? Maybe 99 out of 100 wouldn't. And that's maybe where those people are making the mistake. It's being open to possibilities that you never thought about. You went through with it. And then the second part of the story that strikes me is the 59 rejections. That's part of your personality as a comedian, getting up on stage and failing before you succeed. You have to have that persistence. I'm going to keep sending this book out after failure number 14 or 15 to get to 59 and ultimately 60.
It doesn't feel good. I'll tell you that.
No, definitely not.
It'd be so nice if everything went. But I failure feels terrible, but every single person who's successful in the world has failed, and it's about getting past that point. I think we women are a little more sensitive to failure maybe than men, because when I interviewed a lot of male comics for my book and I said, what do you do when you bomb? And they go, well, I get curious why that didn't work. And women would go, I just drink some vodka. I can't stand it. I just go home and I cry. And, and certainly after shows, I have locked myself in bathrooms and after the gig and just hid there till every single person has left the building. It does not feel good.
Yeah. And I've also seen a lot of interviews with male comedians talking about bombing, and them all saying that if you had a friend in the audience who was also a comedian, then you could instantly turn that into something funny, because you would see them looking at you like you're bombing here, and suddenly it became funny. Like, how bad is this evening going to be? But maybe that's not a female trait to sort of immediately switch into turning something extremely negative into something positive.
I think sometimes we're a little more emotional than analytical, but that's certainly a gender stereotype. I don't know if it's true. Sometimes I've bombed, like one gig, I don't even know if you'd consider it bombing, but when you're working a club and you're headlining, you have to stay on for at least 45 minutes to get your
Mhm.
money,
Right.
because you're really about selling drinks and they want people to buy drinks, and you can't just cut it short no matter what's happening. And this audience was just all men in the front row of some office party, and they were really drunk, and they were so drunk. And I couldn't even have comebacks to them because I couldn't understand what they were saying. So when someone goes, "You got a beak, you got beaks," it's like,
Right.
what the what? It's just like, and it's anyway. It's just, and I just went off stage. I went, I hate this. And these women came backstage and said, "We want to say how much we loved what you did." And I went, "What?" I totally bombed. The audience was so drunk. It was disgusting. She go, "I didn't even see you. I mean, I didn't think there were any women in the audience."
Right.
She says, "Well, we were in the back.
Mhm.
We came from the battered women's shelter,
Oh, wow.
and we've never seen a woman stand up to men like you did.
Right.
And it really gave us all so much hope and courage. And we were inspired by it. And you were funny, and they were such assholes." And I went, "Really?" And so a lot of times if things aren't going well, I pretend those ladies are in the back row.
Sure.
I just pretend they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than what you've already talked about, the being open the possibility to putting in the work, to physically getting up, you fall in a mud puddle. Do you sit there with your pants wet and uncomfortable, or do you get up and figure out what to do next? Any other secrets to getting out of a funk?
I'm a great believer, and I think all comedy comes from the truth. And I think the pursuit of truth in any situation is always leads to comedy. I mean, it usually I shouldn't say always, but you can lead to comedy. And so, like, if you have a broken heart, or give voice to that heart, just like in stand up we call this act outs, and where we could and comics are always giving voice to things like inanimate objects, like, "I wonder if chairs go, oh no, here comes another asshole."
Right,
And
right.
there's something very funny about
Mhm.
giving voice to things that don't have voice. So if your heart is broken, um, you know, give it voice, let it speak and exaggerate it. Why did you pick him? I
Right.
love him. I love him. I love him. And then have a conversation with your brain. His FICO score was good. you know. Or argument is like, "Hey, heart, you fall in love with idiots.
Right,
You're
right.
stupid. Why did you do that? Right? Why? You shouldn't have. Did you see the way he ate? It just
Mhm.
was, yes, but oh my God." Anyway, so, and your body's just going, "He was hot. He was
Mhm.
hot. And so you have this, like, so I just love the notion of this whole notion of the pursuit of happiness. I think is just total bullshit, because to me, this whole thing, like, we need to be happy and we need to get over stuff. I I'm not I don't, prescribe to that. I just find my best lines come from, examining the the truth. It's just like, with my brain saying to the heart, it's like, why did we worship the ground we got walked over on?
Mhm.
And I
Right.
love that line, and it's really the truth, because women usually blame, the other person, and men blame the one. And it's really not about gender. It's
Mhm.
really about, like, what did you do wrong, and what mistakes did you make? But don't blame yourself and don't shame yourself for it, but find the funny in it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where everybody will relate to you. And that's the basis of a really good stand-up set.
Absolutely. I mean, you've just you've just hit upon, I'm a former therapist. It's been 27 years since I provided therapy to anyone. But back then, part of what I was doing with people was called the open chair routine, where they had an issue with their father. And all right, well, pretend your father's right here in this empty chair. What would you say to him? And it parallels. It's so similar to what you're saying. Talk to your heart. Why was I so into this guy? Why did I let him walk all over me? That's a remarkable connection that I've just made right now talking to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did that. I remember a therapist did that, but
Right.
you know, and when you go, I mean, to me in the New Comedy Bible, you know, there's a whole chapter on just rant and rave with attitude.
Right.
And I
Right.
think I don't think comedy comes from our head. It doesn't come from figuring things out. It really comes from talking with emotion. So I have 4 attitude words that I promote in my book to find the funny in one's life. And that is, you know, just make a list of what was hard about your breakup. What was hard? Just make a list, short list, not, and we never start funny. Then you go, what's weird? What was weird? You
Right.
know, what was scary and what
Mhm.
was stupid. So those 4 words, hard, weird, scary, stupid,
Mhm.
are the basis of what I teach, or what I did teach. I'm not particularly teaching stand-up now, except through my books.
Yeah. Amazing. The hard, weird, scary, and what was the
Stupid.
stupid? Right.
Yeah, that's mostly for political jokes. I think that works really good, you know.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
The paper was so freaking stupid, you know,
Mhm.
and it kind of brings an audience in because they want to know, okay, what's stupid?
Right.
And then you can like launch on it. But we use those attitude words to be in the emotion of one of those, and then just let yourself rant. And
Mhm.
you know, and you can also use AI for feedback and for not for writing jokes. Thank God. You know,
Right.
comics are not going to be replaced by AI. They do not write great
Right.
jokes, you know. But one thing they're really good for, brainstorming, you
Mhm.
know, and if you just have a long rant about something, go, do you think anything in here would be the basis of comedy? But then you have to write it. But I'm
Sure.
just saying there's so many tools out there now that I myself have been kind of playing with to just brainstorm topics. The other thing is that breakups are great because to joke about, because chances are in your audience
Mhm.
people have gone through them, so that
Right.
you know they'll connect. And I find the people in my comedy, when I was teaching comedy, the people in my comedy workshop, you know, who are never rejected, they're not particularly funny. It's just like,
Right.
no, nobody's ever rejected me. My kids
Mhm.
love me. My teenager gives me a hug every day. I guess I have one problem. I can't seem to gain weight. Everything I eat
Right.
just goes to my breasts. That's why they're so big. Yeah, it's like, get out of here. You're not funny.
Right.
It's just
Right.
like perfection is not funny.
Right. Well, listen, Judy, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, gaining insight into the how to make comedy a part of your life, and also learning a couple lessons about sticking with it, remaining open to opportunities, and beyond all else, turning whatever is ailing you into some form of comedy.
Yeah, I call it turn your problems into punchlines and life improves.
Absolutely. Pleasure talking to you today, Judy.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for watching. Check back with us for another new episode or visit thehourglasspodcast.com, where you'll find dozens of archived interviews, all of which are meant to help you. Thanks.